The Crash Bandicoot series has had a strong speedrunning community for almost a decade. The original 4 games released on the PS1 in the late 90s are the usual go-to choice for speedrunning. On the same system, however, one game seems to go overlooked by the public but still receives attention from speedrunners over 20 years after the game was released. Crash Bash, a spin-off party game, contains a story like no other. Early on in its history, a mysterious character would set the bar impossibly high for the fastest completion of the game's adventure mode. This is the story of the ultimate Crash Bash speedrun, and the quest to take it down. Before we move on, I want to give a big thanks to the sponsor of today's video. Displate. Displate produces sick metallic posters that you can hang on your wall. I got myself a couple here in the back, and I'm really happy with the designs. I think the best part about Displate is the setup. In the past, posters have always fallen off my walls because I had to use poster tape or sticky tack, but here, you just put on this stick magnet on the wall. You'll get a magnet that comes with your Displate, so you just peel off the plastic as well, press it against the wall for 5 seconds, and there you go. You can even replace the Displate later if you want. Oh come on, I had to pay respect to the only Twitter account that I actually follow. Click the link in the description to get 30% off your Displates within the first week of this video's release, then 15% afterwards. Displate themselves will plant 1 baby tree in Africa for every poster you buy as well, which I think is sweet. And with that, let's get back to the video. Back in speedrunning's uprising between 2012 to 2014, Speedruns Live became a popular site where people would race against their friends in various games, Crash Bash being no different. The game became notorious for its frustrating and unpredictable gameplay, making it a fun, almost madness-like game to throw yourself into. Races of Crash Bash on Speedruns Live are usually set up way in advance, so the participant count was fairly large for the time, consistently having upwards of 10 to 25 participants. After mentally preparing themselves for the inevitable shit show they had signed up for, runners would usually sit in a call on Skype, raging to each other about how bullshit the game is. After all, if you're wading through a field of mud, at least you're in it together.
No, he's winning? How is he winning, dude? Thought I was fucking ahead. How the fuck did...
What the fuck is wrong with you, Tiny?
Tiny, please die, you stupid motherfucker. Go to the gym, you fucking fat ass. You don't do anything but eat. That's why you are just fat in every single game. Why don't you go to the gym and take care of your health?
Good play, Dingo!
Thanks, Dingo. What the fuck is your issue?
On the surface, Crash Bash looks like a kid-friendly party game that you can play with your friends. But when it comes to speedrunning, you'll often be asking yourself, why is Crash Bash so hard? To unlock the final boss, you need to traverse 4 warp rooms and have all 22 trophies by the end, but also 15 gems and 12 crystals. Each minigame in these warp rooms contain one of every item type, meaning you get to pick and choose which gem and crystals you get. If something feels too risky, you can do something else instead. In the any percent category, the gem and crystal challenges are particularly brutal, and can easily make or break any given run. While the trophy challenge is a normal best of 3 against the AI, the gem and crystal challenges lay big handicaps on the player, like forcing them to beat the opponents under a time limit, putting some kind of stage hazard at play, or another gimmick entirely. What they don't tell you about are the hidden buffs the AI receives during a lot of the gem and crystal challenges. Just to take an example, in the level Manic Panic, the AI can easily be pushed all the way to the edge from the center of the stage in the trophy challenge, but when playing the gem challenge, there's a noticeable weight increase for the computer opponents that the game doesn't inform you about. In the crate and tank levels, the stats on damage given and taken is altered between levels and challenges. Runner Poll made a spreadsheet compiling the information for them all. After a quick glance, it's clear to see the devs were feeling particularly cruel on some of these changes. I could keep going on, but you probably get the picture. The game is full of this stuff, and it's just not fair. Amongst all the people racing on Speedruns Live, somebody was consistently performing well in every single race, despite the game's unfair nature. He would consistently win most of the races that he joined, and when he didn't win, he would get second place at minimum. He came out swinging, and seemingly from nowhere too. A Finnish person by the name of Sagita, better known by his more common username, Sage95. In 2013, Sage was one of the only people that actually decided to take Crash Bash seriously. His feel for the game and consistent play throughout put him in a league of his own for the time. His playstyle can best be described as intuitive and feel-based. Rather than breaking the game into a series of zeros and ones, his understanding of the game is almost purely instinctive, showcased through his pristine split-second decision-making. Many of Sage's contemporaries never went further than considering Bash a fun game for racing. Discontent with settling for mediocrity, Sage was looking to set the bar higher and lower the world record. On June 24th, 2013, Sage set a new world record at 2:11.25. A decent time, but he knew there was more work to be done. Sub 2:10 was well within reach, and it was his goal to break the milestone. After many failed attempts throughout October, a rare opportunity arose. Was today gonna be the one? After defeating Papu in Warp 1, Sage is already well on pace for a sub 2:10. At this point in the run, he's over 2 minutes ahead, and the run has only just started. Upon Bearminator's defeat, Sage has extended his lead. But from here on out, things won't be so easy, as the last 2 warp rooms have a noticeable spike in difficulty. It's all or nothing from here. By some miracle, Sage has literally saved 2 minutes in every single warp room. (2:03:41). I think this goes without saying, this is one of the largest world record improvements in all of PlayStation speedrunning. The word skip doesn't even do this run justice. He leapt way, way ahead of the 2:10 barrier, far beyond anyone's expectations. Controlling the unpredictability in this game is not something many can say they've done, but Sage had brought order to chaos. Is it possible that he knew something we didn't? Let's take a closer look. Before starting a new game, you can choose to begin with one of 8 characters. The characters fall into groups and are almost duplicates of each other with some minor changes to the frame data. Crash and Coco make up the bandicoots, we have Cortex and Brio, the scientists, Tiny and Kong are the strong characters, and for the mutants, we have Dingodile and Rillaroo. Kong and Tiny were very quickly selected to be the most viable characters since they have the best overall kit in all the minigames, something that Sage was well aware of at the time. In the crate levels, they have the second furthest throw behind the scientists. In the tank levels, they have the highest damage dealing projectile of the bunch, and in the polar levels, they have a strong push too. The route Sage took through the game had a few safety precautions, allowing for greater consistency overall. He opted to skip the gem in Manic Panic and also the gem in Drain Bash, both of which can be extremely fast if completed first try, but have some serious RNG involved and a very strict time limit too. The two riskier gems were instead replaced by the gem in El Pogo Loco and Ring Ding, a bit slower, but much safer in the end. This isn't to say his gameplay didn't involve taking calculated risks. He definitely did, and he was rewarded for it all throughout the run. Probably the biggest risky decision Sage decided to go for in his 203 run was attempting to defeat the final boss Oxide with only 2 death abuses. Oxide, in every way possible, is cheap. The fight is essentially Pong with health bars, but way less fair. There are stage hazards in the form of missiles and instant kill red balls that don't affect Oxide, let alone deal damage to him if they pass through his goal. On top of that, the AI is absolutely ridiculous. His ability to block every ball imaginable from his own goal is so on point you'd assume you're playing against the TAS. However, Oxide and all of the other bosses prior become progressively weaker the more you fail against them. In this case, Oxide blocks less efficiently and presents more opportunities for the player to take advantage. It was very common in races to intentionally fail against the final boss upwards of 6 times to make him a cakewalk. Obviously, spending time dying over and over again is slow, but fighting him with as few as 1 or even 0 fails is asking for trouble. 2 fails is essentially the bare minimum for having a shot at defeating Oxide, and Sage had no fear going for this on a run where he was over 7 minutes ahead. Beating this run was going to be a tall order. It had practically everything you'd ever want in a run. It had fast rounds, exceptionally few fails, very good luck throughout, and Oxide too. It seemed that the only person who was capable of beating the 203 was the only other person who could stand a chance against Sage in races.
Okay, that was good. Please. Oh, end it with the throw.
Right. Oh, he can hit it. He can hit it.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Pi is a Spanish runner who started taking Crash Bash seriously around the same time as Sage. As one of the only consistent Bash streamers, in many people's eyes, Pi is the face of the game. And no wonder, his stream is hilarious.
No! My first fail! No! What the fuck? Did they all die at the same time? All 3 of them? What? What?
As the only other runner with consistently good times, he was seen as a rival to Sage in the community. Before Sage set the 203, his previous world record was a 2:11.25. Pi's PB was 2:11.27. After being so close and Sage leaping ahead by so much, Pi needed to channel some energy and grind his PB down if he wanted to compete. In May of 2014, it was Pi's time to push for it. The 203 was going down.
Alright. Dude, I'm looking into Oxide with these splits. Let's not fuck it up. Oxide 1 or unfollow. Wow. I'm gonna fuck it up if I do Oxide 1. I need to beat the game in like a minute. Alright, fine, I'll do Oxide 1.
with the closure of a run that has one of the ballsiest endings ever in a Crash Bash 80% run. It still wasn't enough.
Shit. I'm so close to 203.
Pi would continue to grind throughout the coming years, but was also trying to balance university on the side. With little to no time and bitterness from getting so close, he eventually felt too discouraged and gave up hopes. And so, Sage's 203 would continue to stay on top for the rest of 2014 and the entirety of 2015. In mid-2016, a new challenger was ready to pursue the record. The quest to take down Sage had finally been continued by someone else after a 2-year slumber. If you follow PlayStation speedrunning closely, this name may be familiar. Meet SSBM Stuff, better known as Saboom. I've already talked briefly about Saboom in my previous Spyro video. He's known as one of the greatest PS1 speedrunners of all time. He's held records in Spyro 1, Crash Bandicoot 3, Ape Escape, and while not PS1, he also held the Peach record in Super Smash Bros. Melee's home run contest. Safe to say, Saboom is pretty good at video games, but Crash Bash was a little different. Up until this point, both Pi and Sage have been using Koala Kong, but Saboom, throughout his whole life, has always played using Coco. The Bandicoots are quite a bit worse than Tiny and Kong. Their pickup speed and throw distance on crate levels is bad, and their projectile on the tank levels deals little to no damage and travels very slow. Why would he put himself at such a disadvantage? Well, because he's Saboom, and he's gonna show you that he'll snack the record anyway.
Okay. So, mixed feelings. That was insane though, but, man, very, very mixed feelings. I mean, obviously, right? So damn close. Yeah, that's 6 seconds off. Like, every single challenge just cooperated is insane. Like, when does that ever happen? I don't know, guys. I might just stop here, though. Hate to say it, but...
Despite being only 6 seconds off, this is where Saboom decided to throw in the towel. Sage's 203 was now starting to reach legendary status. At this point in time, the record had stood for almost 3 years, and the days would just keep piling on. When a run is so good and its reputation gains such an elusive status, it can start to create a mental block. Both Pi and Saboom had chances at taking the record at multiple points, but what you don't get to see are the hundreds of attempts of a game that is absolutely brutal.
Well, the Dante's Dash relic fun begins.
Thanks, Dingo. What the fuck is your issue? What the fuck was that?
Getting a run where the AI cooperates and everything goes right is such a rare case. Crash Bash is best metaphorized as a wild animal. It takes the right person to tame the beast, and not everybody is capable. Some may have tried, but it seems that the only person who was able to pacify the wrath of this brutal game was Sage himself. What was it gonna take to defeat the king? We are now in the summer of 2018. Sage's 203 has stood for over 4.5 years. How long was it gonna stand? Is anyone ever going to beat it? And who? Over the years, a pattern has been seen to repeat. Runners throw themselves at the seemingly unbreakable wall that is Crash Bash in hopes of dethroning Sage once and for all time. But what if the answer was to fight fire with fire? Maybe, in order to take down a Finn, you gotta be a Finn. This is Bensagram, and he's a fucking badass. After all the years of pain and suffering from multiple runners, Sage's 203 was finally taken down after 1,706 days of being on top. Ben had done the impossible.
That's it. Fuck yes! Oh shit. Garbage run. 4 years, dude. Jesus. Almost 5. Oh my.
Garbage run? How could he say that? He did the impossible, right? Well, that's what I wanted you to think. A not so small detail I've conveniently left out until this point is the fact that Sage's 203 was played on an emulator. In 2013, the only PS1 emulator that speedrunners used was EPSXE. This emulator is painfully inaccurate to original hardware, and gave runners a huge disadvantage overall. Ben's run was played using a PlayStation 2 with the fast disk speed option enabled, which allows for faster loading times. This is the standard for speedrunning most PS1 games nowadays, but back then, not everybody had the money to buy a capture card, a console, or even the right version of the game. So Ben's run was a 203.23 and Sage's run was a 203.41. This is what Sage's time would have been had he used optimal hardware. Yeah, so it turns out that 203 wasn't even close to representing how far ahead of its time Sage's run really was. 158 in 2013 is unreal. While Ben's run is faster than Sage's in real time, his run gained nearly 5 minutes from loading times alone. After all these years of trial and error and constantly pushing for first place, when it was finally achieved, a second layer unveils itself. The honest truth was, if you really wanted to beat Sage fair and square, I'm sorry to tell you, but there's 5 more minutes to go. A message of this caliber would surely discourage even the most motivated person. It would seem that beating Sage's 203 in earnest would require exceptional tenacity. Even though the quality of Ben's run isn't quite on Sage's level yet, it was relieving for the community to see a new #1 after almost 5 years. Ben, however, was not content, and more runs would ensue not long after his 203.23. His efforts in trying to take the game to the next level would awaken one of our forgotten heroes. After someone else had finished the deed that he was unable to do, it was time for Pi's comeback as well. Now that the mental block was gone from both of these runners, they were ready to push the record lower in a collaborative effort. All of the safety precautions that Sage took in his run were no more. The route that Ben and Pi were rolling with now included every risk in hopes of saving as much time as possible. The Drain Bash Gem, Melt Panic Crystal, and Manic Panic Gem were now all done in the name of speed. This time, it was for real. They were going to beat 158.34, and they were going to show that they had what it took to elevate the game further beyond.
Yes! Dude, too! Fuck yes!
I got it. Fuck yes, dude.
With Pi's 158.14 on May 7th, 2019, Sage had officially been dethroned. But Pi wasn't done.
Let's fucking go. Oxide on a 152. This is actually insane. Oh my god, this is actually the best run ever for me. Holy fuck. This is just too much, man. This is like the stupid... Oh my god, I literally can't do this run. Kill me. We're gonna do Oxide 2. We're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do Oxide 2. Holy let's fucking go, alright? Sorry chat, I ain't looking. Let's fucking go. This is gonna fucking suck. I'm gonna lose. I'm gonna fuck this up. Come on, easy Oxide. Yeah, come on, easy Oxide. Give me easy Oxide, please. Give me Dude! Dude! What is this? What is this Oxide? Hold up. Let's not celebrate. Let's not celebrate. Let's not celebrate. We got a Red Bull. We got a Red Bull. Holy shit! Oh my fuck.
155.42 is where the record stands today. After many hardships and personal struggles, someone other than Sage had lowered the record by multiple minutes. While this is the end of the road for now, the game can realistically go as low as 152 with enough grinding. Even now in 2021, only 4 people have managed to get a time faster than Sage. His run was truly ahead of its time, but Pi's 155 definitely set a mark for a new era. Regardless of where the game goes from here, it has this fantastic period in history to show for itself. Thanks for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon. Take care, and have a good one.